Hi, this is Clemens, and I would like to do a follow-up on an ENFP and career video that I previously did, because I got some feedback from a guy, ENFP, German dude, who said that he was going crazy because he was desperate, he was afraid of ending up homeless essentially, because he had so many ideas of what to do but didn't really know what to follow through on. And so I really try to remember what the pain, because I experienced that same pain when I was in the beginning of my 20s and mid-20s, what that pain was like and how I see that pain retrospectively that now I'm in my 30s. So I would say that there's really two things that I have learned. The first thing was that I think grew up in a culture that is very much opposite to my personality. So I apply the concept of personality not only to people but also to cultures. So I'm an ENFP, and the culture, Germany, that I grew up in, is very much of an ISTJ culture, which means it sticks to tradition, it doesn't like to do things differently or to experiment. So essentially, the culture where I come from, you choose your career when you're 18, then you kind of learn, do further studies in that, and you kind of keep on specializing within the career path you have chosen until you retire, essentially. So changing your career is almost a sign of going crazy in that culture, right? Or that is something regarded as something that people don't normally do. And so that was the first learning point, that within that culture, it didn't really work for me. So what I did is, I moved to London. By the way, this is London. So that opened up so much more for me, a culture where people change careers very frequently, especially in the London environment. And the second thing that kind of put a lot of pressure on me was essentially preconception of a generation that is like my parents' generation, and that is a generation that was used to much more stability. So for example, this idea of staying in the same career, of going to university and then working in the career where you got the degree in, that is something that is much more actually real to our parents or my parents' generation. So that we live in a world now that is rapidly and fast changing, and we have to constantly adapt because of the internet, information, like there's so much technology revolution that's going on right now. So I read some statistics that say that actually somebody in their 30s has already had like 15 careers or worked for 15 companies. So, and that is in America, right? So basically life is getting faster and faster. So essentially with those two things, the generational gap and divide and also the cultural setup, essentially what I realized in London is that if I stick to my intuition, if I just basically follow my sixth sense and try new things, I eventually do many experiments that kind of failed to the outsider's perspective. I mean, I tried many careers and they didn't really work for me. So I was a teacher. There was a very rigid and traditional environment. I tried to be a nurse with the idea to become a doctor in my early 20s, and that didn't really work because it was, again, a very rigid environment. So after that, I changed to marketing, which is like in the startup American software environment, which actually like fed so much into my strengths of creating something out of nothing, really unleashing my creativity. Yeah, that helped me a lot to actually see my own strengths, having my own business, creating, again, something out of nothing, being in control from A to Z of a whole process of setting up an infrastructure. That is really stuff that got me passionate and interested. So having, so all in all, really, what I can say is sticking to my intuition allowed me to discover things that I didn't even know that were there, and other people didn't know that were there. I didn't know that I would one day live in London working for American software companies, or having my own business and getting into this whole thing called information product marketing or digital marketing. And that is an area that is super fascinating. I don't know if that's the last thing I'll do. Probably there will be many other things that I'm doing in my life. But the important thing is I know that I can trust my instincts, and even if other people highly question my instincts, other people don't know what they don't know, and I don't know what I don't know. But I know that my intuition is normally right and leads me to discover something new that is of value and that possibly opens up the gateways for new careers. So to all of you in your 20s, ENFPs, hang in there, trust your intuition, keep on going, develop your determination of finishing things, and you'll be just fine. Thank you. So Firas behind the camera just reminded me that I forgot like a funny anecdote, which is essentially that because I work in digital marketing now, which is like online marketing for American software companies, that is all very alien to my parents, right, back in Germany. Because you have to think of Germany as, first of all, it's one generation older, so they haven't really experienced the internet as much as my generation. That is one thing. The other thing is that you have to think of Germany as being 20 years behind the English-speaking world, right? So when I told them that I'm working for American software companies, and I started flying back and forth from America, the first thing that came to their mind was I must be involved in drug business or drug dealing or something like that, because the internet isn't really real, right? And then when they kind of got the hang of, or like kind of understood that I'm really doing something with online marketing, then they thought that was very dodgy. That is like the scamming thing, when people try to rip you off by implanting viruses on your website or cookie browser or whatever. So I think now, like after a lot of spending time and explaining, they kind of get the idea of what I'm doing. So yeah, that is just something that I think illustrates the disconnect between on a generational level, but also from an environment level. Thank you.